This video is brought to you by OKCoin Crypto Exchange, where you can buy, sell, and trade your favorite cryptocurrencies, and you don't have to pay high fees. OKCoin has very low fees, lower than many of the other crypto exchanges in the market. You can also stake your cryptocurrencies and keep 100% of the rewards. There are no fees. Other exchanges charge fees. OKCoin allows you to keep 100% of the rewards. Sign up with OKCoin, link in the description.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel, your home for crypto news and interviews. With me today is Luke Mulks, who's the VP of Business Operations at Brave. Luke, great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Luke, as I said before the recording, I am a big fan of the Brave browser. I'm a basic attention token holder, and I want to learn more about all the cool stuff you guys are doing. But let's get to know you a bit better. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in California in a town called Benicia, and ended up kind of, started off by getting into kind of publishing and print production and worked with startups, and then kind of made my way to advertising, and then made my way to Brave. So over span of like 15, 16 years, basically. But yeah, now I'm doing business operations at Brave.
Now, not only that, I just found out that you participated in helping to write the white paper for the basic attention token. Can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really interesting because, when I came on to Brave, like I started working with Brave in March of 2016. And one of the things that really was interesting is that they were at the time looking at Bitcoin for an option to do this kind of publisher payments ecosystem, which ended up becoming Brave Rewards. And so Bitcoin was kind of in the proof of concept. And then we saw there were some, issues around scaling with Bitcoin at the time, and everybody was starting to do these new token projects. So I joined Brave, like not really having any knowledge of like what people were doing with ICOs and with token launches and things like that. It kind of like was happening in parallel with my time at Brave. And then all of a sudden we saw a draft, Brendan and Scott Laughlin and a few others on the team. We all started kind of collaborating on this Google draft of the white paper. And from my point of view, like I came from an advertising background. I was working kind of in the belly of the beast with Google and every major ad server. I was kind of working with big media companies on integrating all the products and making sure everything worked. So I had a really interesting perspective on like the growth of advertising, on the things that were concerning to me, because I was like working with the NFL. I was working to help run Super Bowl ads, and then like why would I leave that? But it was like everybody has a checklist of things that they're comfortable with, and I hit a point where I was checking off too many of those boxes that I wasn't so comfortable with. But I was just waiting to see like, okay, what's the next thing? Because there were all these half-measured companies that were coming out and trying things out. But Brave really was like looking at it holistically, like the whole puzzle. Like, okay, this isn't just about ad blocking or something like that. It's also about like, how can we build a better system, like that's fairer, that's more private, and better for users. And so what I was able to do is say like, okay, let's look and see the advertising ecosystem. Let's see what the opportunity could be. And then like, let's see, how would that work, right? Like, how could you make private advertising work when you're coming from a browser where like, I wasn't really familiar on like all of the amazing things that come with working at a browser until I worked at one, right? Like, and you're like, wow, we can block a whole protocol. We could do really interesting things from a different level. And so I was able to work and kind of bring, help paint the picture of what the market conditions were like. And then also kind of like help, paint a picture of like, this is where we could aim to go. Like, this is how it could work. And, engineering team, everybody else here, product folks did a really great job too. But that was kind of where my focus was at the beginning with the white paper.
Very cool. Now, before we go into what's new with Brave and Basic Attention Token, there's a lot of new people to the crypto industry asset class. Can you give a quick overview of Brave and the relationship with Basic Attention Token? Just what it is, how it works, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it all kind of starts with Brave as the browser, where we created a browser that blocks, third-party advertising and tracking by default. So basically, starts with a user-first browser where their privacy is protected by default. And the problem has been that, with other browsers, your privacy is basically, you surrender your privacy kind of as a business requirement so that people can monetize. And we think that's wrong. So like we wanted to build a system where, okay, in order to do this, you have to have some creative destruction and kind of like block all the bad stuff that's happening and then build on top of that. And so that's what we did with BAT, the basic attention token. So we have this privacy browser that's really fast and easy to use. And then we put this layer on with rewards where you can opt in to advertising that's private. So it uses all the information that's locally in your browser. And when you think about it, your browser really knows what you're doing and what might be the best opportunity to show you something that you might be interested in. So have a model that works with a browser locally that doesn't send your data to another server. And then from there, what we do that's really different is, users don't get valued for their attention, and their attention is basically driving the whole advertising model, right? Like without the user's attention, you have nothing. And users have just gotten used to that, not getting any reward for that. And we thought, look, like with this ecosystem, let's give the user 70% of the revenue share from the ads that they view. So you see an ad, you don't even have to engage with it. You see the ad in Brave, you get 70% of the revenue for that view in the form of our token. And then you can collect these tokens to BAT, and then you can pay content creators for their content that if you like, you can support them kind of altruistically in the browser and, pay it forward if you want, or there's other options too, where we can, bring the ability to use that BAT to buy things and provide services that you could spend BAT with. And then, but really include this on top of this user first system that's protecting privacy, give users a way to passively earn crypto without even really having to say that. Just say, hey, opt in, better ads, locally targeted, your information stays with you and you're earning crypto while you browse the internet. So I think that's the key to break this out to millions and millions of people. It's not, am I decentralized enough? It's not like, is my subscription to whatever L1 more pure than yours or whatever? It's more like, how do you show people the benefits of crypto without having them have to read a single white paper or learn about it, right? And so from our point of view, we've been able to do that with millions of people. We have 1 million people opted in and are earning. We have 1.2 million creators that have verified to accept that. And these numbers just keep growing and growing. And I think people are really moving with their feet. They want privacy, they're into crypto. Like things are starting to click, which is really great.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. I'm a user of the platform, and it's just so rewarding to browse the web, do what I normally do, and get rewarded for that. And know that I'm opting in for this, I'm in control, or I can opt out, right? So I just love it. And I think that's certainly the future of web monetization.
Yeah, and it's always about giving users controls too. I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because that's something that we do that a lot of other platforms don't do. You kind of go to a page and you get whatever ads are thrown at you. And more importantly, you don't see what's happening behind the scenes either. Like we did these comparisons a while back where we're like looking at like CNN.com, and in Brave, you're only loading making 300 calls, and that's all you need for the content. But in another browser, you're making like a couple thousand, right? Like all these calls are happening. It's all about you and your data and like what you're browsing, and you don't need to do that. Like we can just give you a faster package, a better set of tools, and you can control how many ads you see, and really put you in the driver's seat instead of the browser's a user agent. That's your agency, right? Like not Google's or anybody else's for that matter, right? Like and how can we kind of introduce new ways of doing things with sound principles and fundamentals, basically.
Now, you guys have been seeing a lot of growth, and I'm curious if you have any statistics, both from a user perspective of downloads for the browser, publishers that have signed on, and any of that.
Yeah. We just crossed over 38 million monthly active users, and we have over 1.2 million content creators that have signed up to receive BAT. And so, every year we've basically been doubling our scale and our audience size, and we're aiming to hit hopefully 50 million by the end of the year, like we said in our roadmap earlier this year. But a lot of this is organic. We have been doing stuff around around, getting in front of people, right? Like these things don't market themselves. You can have the best thing in the world and no one's ever heard of it, right? Like, and so we're really leaning a lot on community, and we have a really good Brave community, and the Bat community is really, really on fire and good folks, and doing everything they can to get friends and family involved. And that's kind of how these things grow. It's like, you get friends and family, you get that lead user cohort. And with us, it's all about feedback. Like, everything we do, we're really transparent about. All our code's open sourced. We put, brave.com/transparency. We have a lot of information about the ecosystem, and people can see like what we're doing, and they can ask us questions. And, myself and Brendan and many others, up and down the company are on Twitter fielding questions from anybody that wants it, because we really see, the end user is more than just a user. They're a person that is contributing to the value of what we're doing, right? Like, and we really take that feedback seriously. So, whenever we hear folks feel that something's broken here, or we really think this would be cool, or, oh, I would make Brave my default browser if I just did that. We listen to all of that, and we bring it back into the to the teams and stakeholders, and try to get those fixes and optimizations kind of built into the product. So it's very, very hands-on with both public facing and like within the org itself too.
And I have to say, I've seen Brendan himself respond to some of these, and it's just so unorthodox, but it's great, right? The fact that he's taking time to do this. I mean, a man of his caliber, and I can imagine what his day-to-day is like. And he's responding to Joe Schmo saying, hey, the Brave browser, this or whatever, right? So that I find that pretty cool, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we do these community calls for the Bat community every Tuesday, and I think he's been on 5 consecutive calls, and it's like, I was thinking about it, like, what other community can you say, hey, we got the creator of JavaScript, on our community. You can ask him questions directly. It's kind of a cool thing that we've got going here. But I mean, it's because we really like user first. We want people to feel like they've got a product that's built for them, and that puts their interests kind of front and center.
For sure. So there were some great features you guys rolled out this year that I want to touch on. First is, and I guess the most recent one, of a video function. Can you tell us about that, called Brave Talk?
Yeah, we just released Brave Talk a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of think of it as kind of like a challenger to Zoom or Google Meet, but it's directly in the browser. So we have, a more private, secure video conferencing solution that's built directly in the browser. If you have Brave Rewards enabled, you can do unlimited one-to-one calls initiated for free. Anybody can join any calls that they want from any browser. And if for $7 a month, you can get like this premium version where you can have, calls with hundreds of people and YouTube streaming and all of these options. And what we're really trying to do is kind of give people the tools, right? Like, Brave starts with a browser, and that's where a lot of the focus has been, but we're a privacy company, right? And we're also a crypto company too. We have our own token, and we want these two things to converge. We want to have really solid privacy for people, and we want to empower people with the benefits of crypto and Web3. And, if we can really do that, which we've been able to do pretty well so far, we can deliver something unique to market that, big tech companies will just have too much red tape to kind of ship themselves. So like, we're in a neat position where we're kind of like piggybacking on a lot of the wins from big tech, but also, really driving fundamentals to market that are speaking to every person.
Now I have a question, and it may be something that will come later on, but are you able to pay for that premium version to talk to hundreds of people with the basic attention token? Let's say you hold that and things.
Soon. We were working on a SKU functionality, so that basically, like, we're starting with our own services, giving people the options to pay with that, and then taking it further. Eventually creators could list products that they want to make available. So anything that you could put a SKU on, we can make it so that BAT could be available to pay by SKU. So that's coming soon. Probably, I don't have an exact date, but the team's been working on that. That was the first thing. It's like, okay, let's get these things stood up, and then let's go get these BAT connected to it. Basically, is the next step.
Wow, so cool. And I wanted to talk about Brave Search, because I'll give you a bit of my background. I still currently do SEO.
Oh, cool.
So search and digital marketing has been a big part of my life and my career until I went full crypto. But tell me about how Brave Search came about. What powers it? How is it different from Google Search and Bing Search and things like that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So Brave Search, like, I thought advertising was a small tent, right? Like with a few players that control a lot of. If you start looking under the hood with search, especially search engine to search engine, you start to see a pattern. All roads kind of line up all the way back to either Google with Bing, or Google with Google search, or Bing with Microsoft, or Microsoft with Bing, right? Like so, a lot of the other, DuckDuckGo, for example, right? They're a private search engine. They get rid of a lot of the PII, other information, but it's kind of right on top of Bing, right? So what we're doing with Brave Search, we started working, talking with this team from Tailcat. They were a spinoff of Clicks, the Clicks browser in Europe, and that didn't pan out for them, so they were kind of doing their own thing. We ended up acquiring them, right? Like to build us, basically bring an independent search index to Brave, and then it being in the Brave browser, we can also offer options with backfilling results. So you can backfill a result. The browser could even, for harder to find queries, go anonymously request from Google or from Bing backfill requests. So you can get the good benefits of the good privacy search engine, but even with our own index, and having some of the limited capabilities with finer grained search queries there, we can backfill in Brave. So anybody can use Brave Search in any browser, but if you come to Brave, the browser, and use Brave Search, you can backfill and get even better results. And it's all about kind of just having an independent search index that big tech can't really influence. And we take that really seriously. Like in the settings for search, there's even like an independence rating that, basically is like a number based off of your search index or your search queries, like what's a percentage of these that were independently pulled from our index versus, having to backfill from another source. So we're really putting a lot of emphasis and focus on that. And if we can really, a lot of people confuse browsers and search engines anyway. Like a lot of people, they think, Brave the search engine. And now we can actually say, yeah, Brave the search engine. But combining those two things together, right? Like you have kind of Brave ads, this really great way to market to an audience of people that wants marketing. And then, really strong private search in a browser. This really starts to look like kind of a super app situation. Now you got talk with, private video conferencing, unlimited durations, all that good stuff. And then, we have other products that we're bringing to market soon in the next few months that'll just keep adding to those suite of, ways. We want to make it easy so that if you want to kick big tech to the curb, or at least as much of as you can, and come to a privacy product or privacy suite of products that are faster, easier, and more aligned with your interests, then Brave is kind of that place to go.
Now, I asked this question because once again, coming from my background of digital marketing and know about paid search ads and Google and all that, how will Brave Search's ads work? And given that, your respective stance on privacy, how would it be different from Google's version?
Yeah, so we'll piggyback on a lot of the innovation that we brought with Brave Ads, right? With Brave Ads, what we did was we were able to kind of look at things locally on, like, set up algorithms to look locally on the browser and help you find matches based off of that. Well, we can do the same thing with search indexing, right? Like, and the browser knows what search queries you're bumping in. It also knows what you've been browsing. So, we have the ability there to offer a better result on the ad side, even potentially than what Google can do. Well, Google can do some pretty amazing things, but they have managed to kind of get themselves everywhere. But doing this from locally from the client, and being able to like pair that with a catalog of ads that you're seeing as you're browsing. I think that's a really interesting thing, like from a marketing perspective, that we offer at Brave. It's like a full funnel of products now. So you've got we've got push notifications that are really good, kind of bottom of the funnel. We have the sponsored image unit that's on the new tab page, so everybody can kind of see, oh, hey, here is only one brand per country per day that we run there. And then we just released Brave News, which is like a private news feeder that uses a private CDN system that we've engineered, and basically we've added an ad unit there too. So from the top to the middle to the bottom of the funnel, we have a way to market to users that have a stake in advertising, right? Like, and that want to have advertising. We have some of the best engagement numbers out there right now. And a lot of that's because when you look at what's happening outside of Brave, like, everybody's getting hit with ads all the time. It's all about just kind of making something stand out, but people are pretty banner blind these days. And, when you have a cohort of people that wants to be part of this experience, and is getting rewarded for their attention, it's a different ballgame. You get much higher engagement, and you get kind of this loyal following of people that is interested in seeing what we're advertising too. And so, we've been able to do that. I think to bring it back to search, right? Like, one of the things that we, as a company that's gone from being a small startup to like kind of mid-size now, a lot of the advertising, pushback we've gotten from advertisers has been like, we want to serve more. We want to get users at different parts of the funnel, and search ads will bring a great addition to what we're able to offer to marketers. And, you can imagine, okay, well, maybe I'm searching something and then, doing more research, and, you're just creating better opportunities to show somebody a deal, an offer, an ad, something that they want to see, right? So I think that these things work together really well to drive, really effective marketing to people that want it.
Yeah, and I don't think overall people have a problem with advertisement. It's just the way it's gone about, their privacy concerns, and to your point of banner blindness, and people use ad blockers now.
Right.
Yeah. So
exactly. I mean, that's what a lot of it was. Like when I started working with Brave, there was ad blocking if you wanted to make this noise go away, and that was it. And that was the thing I liked about what we were doing, is it's like you can get those benefits, but also, it's your chance to come back and collaborate with the economy, right? Like we're building an attention economy here, right? And that's one of the powerful things about doing this from the browser level, is just that, browsers are really driving the attention economy. And so, having that vantage point, it gives you a better position to make change in the market that you couldn't make otherwise. Like Google and everybody else, they're still kicking the can down the road on all this stuff, right? Like they're talking about fledge testing and all this good stuff with, cookie lists of this or that, like, and really none of it got to the privacy concerns, and none of it really got, they're too big. They're too big. They're so vested in the way that things are that it's tricky for them to do it. When us, we can just come in and we're the new guy in town, and we're not going to sit around and wait. We're going to come in, we're going to build proofs of concept, release them as MVPs, and then, show the market. And people move with their feet. People moved with their feet to ad blockers, and people are moving with their feet from ad blockers and just to Brave, just the more they hear about it.
Yeah. And given all the things that are happening around GDPR and the, pushed for more privacy and so forth, I think you guys are just positioned, in my opinion, just to be the disruptor and take so much market share.
I mean, this is where it was really cool, because we launched the ad platform in April of 2019, and we did a lot of like education with ad agencies and everybody else. And even when GDPR passed, there was just like not a lot of noise around it. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, whoa, what does this mean? And for us, it was like, okay, in 2019, we're able to go to market with something and have it in market that can basically run anywhere. So you can run marketing spend in India, in the US, in the UK, anywhere, in GDPR, everything. It's all designed not to let Brave know anything about the user, right? So, the compliance lobbying game that's going on, it'll always be softer than what we're providing, and we can really be the standard bearer of what really strong privacy means for a mainstream audience at scale. Like, and that's kind of where we're going with this. But, get people in there, give people good privacy, give people ways to earn crypto passively, show them what's behind this, right? Like, and that's the problem with crypto, is that it's so complicated that like just kind of trying to find your way can be tough. But if you can start passively earning crypto and seeing that number go up and seeing those market effects when they happen, it gets your attention. And then the next thing you know, you're in, everyone's talking about it, and you've been participating this whole time. And I think, this next wave of innovation to crypto is going to be all about how can you get passive earn opportunities? How can you get the tools like DeFi is like such a huge advancement, right? Like for empowering people to get out of the old systems and into something where they've got more control and they don't have to pay everybody in between, right? So much of this is relative to advertising too, because these models, it's all about a user and a brand, or a user and their money. And these systems have gotten so just clogged with just intermediaries on both ends. We can just say, no, here's a straight line, there's a straight line. Better ROI for the advertiser, more empowerment for the user, reward for the user. It's all just wins if you can cut out the middle and you really bring, and the crypto lets you do that, right? Like in ways that you couldn't normally do that before.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something there about, different rewards, DeFi, all these things happening. I know some of these things are probably under NDA. You can't talk about it now, but I'm curious, anything around the token that might be on the horizon of new features, would it be staking? I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, happy to share. So we released a roadmap for BAT, a 2.0 roadmap back in February, and there are three key pillars with this. Like one is this Brave wallet. So we had a crypto wallet in the desktop. We also have a rewards wallet, and we have a Chromium wallet that ships. There's three wallets that live in isolation in Brave. What we're doing with this upcoming wallet is merging those all together into one unified UI that has everything from traditional payment methods, credit card, debit card, ways to link to custodial partners, ways to go straight to DeFi and Web3, and we're bringing that to desktop and mobile. So that was one of the key pillars of the three in this roadmap. The other one, the second roadmap pillar was around a DEX aggregator. So we released this on our crypto wallet in July. We're deprecating that wallet and bringing everything to the new one, but the swap feature is there. So basically, get people a good deal on swaps, similar to MetaMask swaps or others. But we're building an incentive program. So we announced a swap reward program. So if you're a Brave Rewards user, you transact on swaps, we'll give you up to 20% or 20% of your transaction fees back with that. So ways that we can utilize BAT to basically give people rebates on their trading fees. And that's just the start of it, right? What we're doing with this wallet is really kind of providing gateways into the DeFi experience on the web. And, BAT kind of organically found its way onto Compound, onto, MakerDAO, onto, Aave, a lot of these DeFi protocols. It just organically happened. It wasn't something we had planned. It just happened. And so what are ways, this roadmap is really looking at, take the attention economy that's up and running. We've got millions of dollars flowing through it every month, and attach that. What are the benefits you can bring to users and to advertisers and publishers when you tie DeFi to that? And nobody's really done that yet. And I think, there's a ton of, half of my day is just brainstorming different ways that we can make this work, because there's so much opportunity, so much value there, right? Like if you're an advertiser, you could take a position in BAT, and, over time, if you're just, averaging this out, you could end up getting a lot more bang for your buck. And for creators, right? There's ways you could start funding your own campaigns if you play with DeFi, right? But making that easy for people to understand is really hard. And I think that, we've been able to do it with ads. If we can continue in that vein with the wallet, you'll have such an opportunity here. I mean, 38 million people, right? Connecting 38 million people to Web3 and crypto at every stage. So most people might not be comfortable doing Web3 transactions, but they have a bank account, they're probably comfortable going and setting up with a custodian, right? So we could put that partnership right there, right? And get them familiar. And then as they learn more and more, the ones that want to, show them ways that they can do more, right? And then integrate beneficial features into the wallet over time too, having the option to do a one-click earn in the wallet. It's just, these are just things. And we're in a position where users are browsing the entire internet here. So we have ways of connecting with people and kind of onboarding them to this wallet feature that others don't necessarily have. So that's kind of the second pillar is connecting DeFi for the masses and through the attention economy. And the third is basically around kind of decentralizing a lot of the BAT work that we're doing. This, some of this is off chain, some of this is, through custodial partners. And most of that's for compliance reasons, because we were a product that had a product before we did our token sale, whereas most token sales didn't have anything except for a white paper. And so we've always been in a different camp, and we were really early. So when we did our token sale in May of 2017, the SEC and other regulators didn't really have much of a position on crypto yet that they had voiced in the market, right? It was a couple months later they did, but we were behind that. We were earlier than that. And so we've been watching, whack-a-mole regulators every year for the past few years, just to get a sense of the climate, right? But decentralizing that more, we have efforts through Themis. It basically did a bake-off where we did open RFC&C with other L1s, L2 solutions to basically say, hey, here's a challenge. Let us know how your L1 or L2 could work with, BAT and with, better decentralizing this ecosystem. And so our research team has been working on that effort too. So those are the three pillars, right? Just basically, unified wallet, DeFi and the attention economy for the masses, and the third one is better decentralizing, the BAT ecosystem.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see, some of these new things roll out. There's another new update. From what I read, Brave 1.3.0 supports Microsoft Edge protocol on Windows. Can you tell us about that? I'm not sure how significant of an update that is, but
yeah, it's just interesting the things that you start to find, right? Like you're on your computer, you set a default browser, and you kind of assume if it goes through the browser, it should go through my default browser. But then you start to dig on some of these operating systems, like Windows, for example, and you see, oh, they've got Edge or Microsoft Internet Explorer handling this special type of URL that isn't, well known across other OSs. So like, because I started noticing this on Windows, and it would be like, go to that help article, and all of a sudden I'm logged into Microsoft site through a help article on Windows, and I'm going in it through Edge, which also is trying to sign me into the browser. There's a lot of privacy harm, right? Like where you're like, I wanted to know a solution to a problem. I didn't want to go and get doxxed to Microsoft for that question, right? Like I wanted to, and so what we're doing with that feature is basically, giving users the option to set Brave as a default more universally within Windows, to put it simply. Like, and these are things that happen. And it's just, each operating system is a little bit different, but Windows had these special protocols that, weren't covered by the default browser. So what we're trying to do is just fix it to make sure that we can cover off on those.
Sure. Okay, so I have to ask this question. It's something I'm personally thinking about, because you guys have such a great browser. You have the rewards with the basic attention token. Have you been approached by the likes of, let's say, a Google for partnership or acquisition? Because I'm sure Google would love to have what you guys have, as the tide is changing.
Yeah, well, I can't disclose too much on that stuff, but what I can say is that Google and big tech are kind of in a weird position here, where and if you've seen this, I mean, like Apple started marketing on privacy, within the past 2 years. Google is starting to try and do it, but the battle now, like in Europe, this stuff is very well defined. Like personal data is very well defined. There's law around it. In the US, there's not. So what you have are these big tech companies that are trying to redefine what privacy means. Say, hey, Google cares about your privacy, but it all goes through Google, right? Like your whole life goes through Google, which isn't really your privacy. It's them, things happen, right? Like, and so Google's in a tough position where, if they fully adopt something like what we're doing, that would be great. But also, what does that mean about all the advertising they've been serving and 90% of their revenue? Like we're saying some pretty strong things in the market about what traditional advertising does to privacy. Like there are just ways that they can't really jive with that. Right. And so so there's challenges for these big companies. I mean, like we've talked with several, and who knows, I'm not going to predict what the future holds on that front. I would love it if any big tech company were to adopt Brave. It would be a massive win for privacy and crypto across the world, right? I think that would be a really cool thing. I don't know if it'll happen. I think that, everybody has their own interests that they're trying to driving their businesses on. And, we're talking to these companies occasionally. We have deals with some of them on different levels, not Google necessarily, but others. And, it's an open discussion, but we're not anything I can report necessarily on that front.
Sure.
So
I had to ask, but I totally understand. Like these things are not things you could just discuss under NDAs and all of that. But it's just from a selfish standpoint, a techie and just a fan of Brave. That would be very interesting if that was to happen. I want to switch gears and talk a bit about the crypto market. What are your thoughts on the current market situation? Seems like we're still in that bull market. What's your perspective?
It's interesting right now because I think do a lot of work in this area, right? And crypto market's now $2.3 trillion market. It might depend on the day, but like, whoa, $2.3 trillion, right? Like I remember when Vitalik was talking about, oh, we hit 500 billion in market cap. Did we earn it or whatever, like that kind of thing. And it's like, that wasn't that long ago. And so what's super interesting about the crypto markets right now is that you look at a lot of like traditional traders, and even if you can even call people in crypto traditional anything, but like you look at people, whales, traders that have been around for a long time, they're looking at market cycles in a very traditional way. With this much more more money in the system. And these players, like the OCC cleared it for banks to do stablecoin transactions back in January, and banks and institutional, investors, lenders, et cetera, are all doing this. Retail, Zoom, or not Zoom, PayPal, Venmo, all these companies have crypto, in their portfolio now. It's a different market. I think we'll see corrections, highs, lows. I think I'm still very bullish. I'm so bullish on what's going on right now. It's just like, 2 years ago, we were like, are regulators going to kill this thing? And now it's like, no, regulators want to work with you. So maybe the people butt heads on the actual regulation and how about it, but the fact that the climate is welcoming versus adversarial is like such a big difference now. And like when you look and see what Visa's doing, you see what other companies are doing with crypto, it really validates like a lot of the fundamentals around why this is important technology, aside from just number go up, right? Like, and I think that I'm really bullish on what's happening with NFTs. I think that the utility for NFTs is like potential so huge. People are just right past everybody, but like everyone's focused on the art and the stuff that you need to focus on to kind of get adoption. But
right,
when we release this wallet, have integrated NFT support, like there are a ton of use cases for NFTs in a browser experience or out of home, things to tie things together in a way that haven't been done before. And I'm really excited about that. And we haven't even really seen people talk about ticketing systems, things like that with NFTs, but like really taking that to the next level. Like I'm super excited about that. And I think, just the growth in NFTs, like I saw it in the spring, how it was like NFTs, and then it was like frozen. But then this summer it's like, whoa, it's fall, just really, really, every day I'm going and just swearing under my breath over the transaction fees on Ethereum. But then I see OpenSea as the number one, like they might as well just leave that there permanently, it seems like, on the gas tracker. But just seeing all this growth, right? Like in the ecosystem, and then also seeing L1s emerging, right? Like, Binance Smart Chain last fall, and Polygon, came in with, their sidechain and scaling solutions earlier this year. And Solana is just like, whoa, I'm like in there, like, you go to use that objectively for 24 hours with DeFi and then tell me like why you would want to go somewhere else. It's like, each one of these L1s has, or sidechain solutions or whatever, has these different ecosystem capabilities and focuses. And, I feel like maybe one will win out, but I don't think that it'll only be one forever. I think we're in a multi-chain world, and I think that we might see these chains specialize in things over time, but really bullish on it, just to answer the question bluntly.
You mentioned regulators. Things have progressively gotten better, of course, and I think there's more members of Congress, bipartisan support. But I think a big roadblock, and there's a lot of discussions happening, is the SEC and them coming to grips and grasp of hey, how we test may not align 100% to digital assets, because we're talking about networks and decentralization. What are your thoughts on that? And obviously we have a big lawsuit that they have against Ripple. A lot of eyes on this because it will set the precedence for the rest of the market.
Yeah, I think it's a super interesting time right now, because it's like you've got multiple regulatory agencies at all different levels of exposure and education, right? Like, and education is like such a huge thing here. And I think it's a balance on the crypto side of things where, okay, you want mainstream adoption. This is inevitable. You're going to have to deal with regulators, right? Like, and well, how do you regulate it? And I think that's the rubber meat in the road. And some of this happened, started to flare up over the summer, where you had things like the DeFi education fund, right? Like that used the Uniswap governance system to basically get funds to create a special interest group around lobbying in the US. And the way that you have to work with regulators, it's all very country by country. It's like, the US laws are one thing, but that's not applied globally. And, where there are some things, politics is kind of the art of compromise, right? Where do you want to compromise? What are you comfortable compromising? Is it DeFi? Is it still going to be DeFi if you start to give in and compromise at the protocol level with regulators? That's where I'm concerned about it. Is this like, there are ways we can do this to make regulators happy, I think, without having to KYC the world, right? Like, and I think that, that's where rubber's meeting the road, and there's a lot of interesting discussion going on around that. And then also looking and just seeing how things are getting adopted globally too, and how the market's kind of force functioning a lot of practices in that, regulators might have wanted to own earlier on, or better police or whatever. So I think that on the regulatory side, it's still education, right? Like you look at what happened with the infrastructure bill, where people were talking about you can't 1099 a smart contract, like that doesn't work, right? Like, but then it comes to the front end, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm dealing with like First Amendment issues. Then, do you want to do that? Like, and so you talk to some experts, and they're like, the more decentralized, the easier this stuff actually is to execute, versus like an exchange where, like, look at what's happening with Coinbase, where like the CEO of Coinbase is like kind of quasi trolling the SEC on Twitter. Like, and it's like, okay. I don't know. I've been one of the many folks on these centralized exchanges who have tried to move stuff around in volatility and is locked out. So I don't know. Best of luck with that. But it's a really interesting time, because what they're talking about with Lend, you probably remember, I remember, like, you had a savings account, you earned interest on it. It wasn't 5, 6, 7, 8%. That's a huge tool to many people. Like, if you told somebody, here's, USD, you want to make, nothing or 7, 8%. And most people would want to make 7, 8%. It's just a matter of like making it easy for them to do that, right? And I think, between looking at crypto as kind of a quasi telegram or money order system versus like savings account, these things are ways that you can get millions of people to do this. Doing it with regulators is squishy. It's tough with the centralized approaches. It's less hard with the decentralized approaches. And I think if we stay kind of to those, if we keep trying to innovate on the decentralization side of things, I think that's the best game plan. And then try to work with regulators like as much as you can, without over-regulating everything, because you're going to see, that really stifles everything. And, then you want to keep the great parts of crypto intact without compromising on them. So anyway, long-winded answer, but that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, it's just, I hope the United States can get it right, and crypto companies and can continue to build, and innovation can continue to be fostered, and folks don't have to go overseas. So hopefully they can get it right soon. I want to get your thoughts on Bitcoin. Lots going on. Bitcoin mining boom in the United States. El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender. Companies putting Bitcoin in their balance sheet. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think it's awesome. Like, it's so cool, again, like to see, institutional players, to see adoption at these levels. It's really interesting for me, like, and I'm a little bit biased here because I was on a project where we were doing a token sale and kind of campaigning on, the mission, right? And a lot of folks on the Bitcoin side of things, more on the maximalist, hardcover, carnivore book sides of things, that said like, hey, you don't need that. Like, Lightning does that back in 2017. Blah, 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 shitcoin, blah, blah, blah. And so, it was interesting to see how many of them were really cool with how the stuff went down in El Salvador, when they're basically implemented a forced tender for commercial applications, and through a centralized kind of ecosystem that oversight with the central bank of El Salvador too. So even if you weren't using Chavo, you still had to kind of comply with, the regulatory oversight from the central bank, which I'm all for as many people getting in their hands on Bitcoin as possible. I think it's just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of it. Like, this is the way ahead. I think that, it's been interesting to watch how on board people have been with, some of the compromises that they were immovable on before. I'll just say that, right? I think it's just an interesting dynamic. Like, I don't think they should have forced it on businesses, and it doesn't seem like they're really enforcing it that hard, but there's this, as somebody with a privacy, that's looking at this from a privacy point of view, some of these things are kind of scary. It's like, okay, everybody I'm transacting with, these apps, they're rooted in my device. They can pick signal up and, know what I'm doing. And it's like, how much are you trading off, right? But these are important things to do, right? And I think you get a couple of countries that do this tender approach, and it's like the banking community has to work with it, and that's why I was seeing some interesting folks talking about, like, once 2 or 3 come aboard with this, change the whole system. So
yeah, I agree with your sentiment there. And it's, I kind of figured out recently about the maximalism to tribalism. I think Raoul Pal, the macro investor, was talking about it. It's Metcalfe's law, and because there's monetary incentive, people, it starts the end of fighting, right? And ready to pick up stones and throw.
And as much as I'm throwing shade at maximalists in their commentary a couple of years ago, I'm seeing a lot of that behavior switching. Like a lot of Ethereum folks that were very anti-maximalist are kind of turning into maximalists too, because the heat's turning up on them, right? Like, why do I want to do stuff on Ethereum if I can do something that costs $100 there or 16 cents on Solana or another L1, right? Like, and I'm all for all this, by the way. I don't think Ethereum's going away. I hold Ethereum and love Ethereum. I kind of treating Ethereum as my bank, and then treating like, Solana, some of these other L1s is kind of like cash in the wallet and kind of having fun, doing things like that. I think this is all really good for the space. I think there's going to be some winners and losers, but you're going to be able to take winnings away from the winners and bring those into other products. And that's how you innovate. This is it's all technology. Like, you can wait for regulators, you're going to wait a long time. You wait for other conditions, but if you build and put it out there and get a market fit and it resonates, like that's the winning formula, right? Like, and then, force them to deal with it and then deal with it and take it away from people. Like, that's a lot harder than, kind of dealing with the stuff in the abstract.
Right. What is it? It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yes, exactly. The way of the world.
What are your thoughts on central bank digital currency, CBDC? Seems like every central bank around the world is ready to put it out. There's conspiracy theories around these. I don't want to go into it, but rather taking the blockchain technology, they're even building on some of these blockchains out there. What are your thoughts on that? And I have interviewed some folks like Chris Giancarlo, former CFTC official. You're talking about, hey, constitutional rights. Are they going to track everything we do? With CBDCs, why would I want to use the digital dollar?
It's super interesting because it's exactly that point, right? Like, it brings another level of, surveillance into the zeitgeist that wasn't there before. And I think, like, the World Economic Forum wants to be on with blockchain. They also have a campaign with like the FBI and a bunch of folks around, like, getting rid of anonymity. And those are like, like, scary. Like, I mean, like, Cass is kind of like this last, hanger on to any anonymity. And with decentralized crypto, there's ways to do it, that people can stay pretty much anonymous. But yeah, I think part of me thinks this is an inevitability, right? Like, we're already dealing with digital dollars as it is, like through debit. The whole rail system is digital anyway. Like, and it makes me wonder about what's going to happen with stable coins, like, because those are the richest target for them to go after. They're one of the most useful types of crypto. It's a great way for people to on-ramp into crypto. People put their winnings there, all the good stuff, right? Like, how will that go? That's to be seen, right? I think that's probably the prime target I would see. Like, I don't think that they care about Bitcoin. They look at Bitcoin like gold or something else. But I think stable coins are, something that, national banks really will start to care about a lot more if they don't already. But it'll be interesting to see how that gets regulated and how, those things get treated, like, going forward.
So I want to wrap it up here with some quick rapid fire questions, such as, what's your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food. Oh God, I don't know. I don't have a favorite food. I like a little bit of everything.
Cool. Favorite musician or band?
I like, again, a lot of everything. I like listen to a lot of jazz, listen to a lot of electronic music, listen to a lot of rock, everything, play instruments too. So a little bit of everything.
Nice. Favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite movie, but again, these are tough. It's hard for me to pick favorites. There's too many good things in this world,
Sure, for sure. Yeah, these are tough. I'm the same way. I listen
to this is good.
Different things, watch a variety of different movies.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
I have a bunch of favorite books. I read, I like a lot of nonfiction, just even reading, like, more recently, like Flash Boys, right? Like, Michael Lewis was just like, whoa, cool. Like, and checking out what, like, disruptors are doing. But I'm a history buff too. So I like to dig into, like, a lot of, nonfiction around history and things like that too. But, I'll hit sci-fi occasionally, but,
Very
most
cool.
of my readings in crypto now.
Oh yeah. Same with me. And when you're not working at Brave, what are you doing for fun as a hobby?
Wrestling around two little kids most of the time, and then that's pretty much it, man. Like I like to play. I've always been doing technology, like, you know, but I play music, and but yeah, a lot of this time is just with the kids and the family now. But they've got crypto too, so you know, they're making their way.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Luke, great chatting with you, man. And I'm excited to see the new updates on Brave and the basic attention token as things progress. But thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.